Why are they asking us to ignore what we all saw?
Well, because they're liars. And I don't say this lightly, but we turned our Judiciary Committee hearing this morning into a referendum on this Minnesota case because we were not going to let Republicans just talk about some ridiculous bills when we have a U.S. citizen who was shot not once, not twice, 3 times as she was turning the car away. And that video has been playing for everybody to see. And within hours, you have Kristi Noem, you have Donald Trump, and now apparently you have the vice president all lying to the American people about what we can see. And their problem is there is video that very clearly shows
and there are angles of video.
And the angles of video,
right.
And there's a breakdown of exactly what was happening.
Slow motion video.
There's an ICE agent who comes out and shoots, and you can see where the bullets are hitting. You can see that the woman has put herself in reverse and is turning the car. And we walked through this over and over again today. And what really stuns me and horrifies me, and I've been getting calls from people across the country about this because people cannot believe not only what happened, which is so outrageous in and of itself, but that then you have the president and the vice president and the secretary of Homeland Security lying to the American people about what happened. And I think that the Republicans today on the committee didn't know what to do. They tried to defend the ICE officer. They tried to say all kinds of things that weren't true, but it didn't hold up, Simone. And what we have to do is we have to cut off the funding for these rogue ICE officers who are kidnapping people, killing U.S. citizens, taking people off the streets. All of this has enormous money behind it. Congress does have the authority. And I think that's the next thing we have to do. If they're not going to follow the law, if they're not going to not kill people on the streets, and if we can't even have an independent investigations without the president weighing in on social media and telling lies to the American people, this is a very dangerous time in our democracy.
Congresswoman, as we are on air, we have some breaking news. The Portland Police Department is now reporting that there were 2 individuals who were shot by federal agents. We do not know the state of those individuals. We do not know which federal agency those officers belong to. You have said in the case of what happened in Minneapolis that watching that video, it looked like outright murder. Beyond the funding of these federal agencies, what then does accountability look like?
Well, look, I think accountability, and this, you're right to point out not only what's happening in Portland, but this isn't the first time ICE has shot and killed people. This happened in Chicago. We had people talking about that case today. And now, apparently, I haven't seen any of the details of the Portland case. But this is what is terrifying. We have to, the accountability has to be, these cases have to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. These people have to be held accountable. They are not, by the way, in the Minnesota case, an agent is not supposed to come and fire from the front on a car. They are actually taught very differently. So my question is, who is this agent? What has he done before? What training has he had? I don't have any faith that the FBI, that the Department of Justice is going to conduct an independent investigation. In fact, you saw the news that they are not even cooperating with the Minnesota law enforcement. They're not sharing information about the case. They're trying to take it over because they want to wipe this away, and they don't want to have an independent investigation that has any truth to it. So we need to stop the funding, but we also need to crack down on who is being hired at these agencies, how are they being trained. All of that has to be under question. And today in Judiciary Committee, we demanded of the chairman, I don't think it's going to happen, but we have to keep pushing for this, that we have a full accountability hearing on who these ICE agents are. Why are they masked? Alicia, why are these ICE agents masked in the cities? We don't even have the guys who picked up and arrested El Chapo. Those people were not masked. And you're telling me that these ICE agents have to be masked when they're out there? I think it's because they don't want to be identified. They don't want to release the body camera. They don't want to have independent investigations. They don't want to have any accountability. And the American people are watching this and terrified. This woman that was killed in Minnesota was, we don't know all the circumstances of who she was. I've seen that there were reports that she was a legal observer, but I've also seen and heard from people in Minnesota that that was not the case, that maybe she was there picking up her children. We don't know all the facts of what was going on. But the truth is that every single person in the United States of America, U.S. citizens, white, black, brown, whoever you are, you have to worry now that an ICE agent is going to come and shoot at you and kill you.
What you described, Congresswoman, is the terrorism, and
Yes.
that is a big part of the story that this administration is putting into the public and private lives of a lot of Americans out there. You mentioned that the Secretary of Homeland Security, the President, the Vice President don't want to tell the truth, haven't told the truth, they're lying, and the reason is because the truth has consequences.
Yeah,
the
that's
truth,
right.
the truth in Portland, the truth in Minnesota. The truth in Chicago has consequences.
That's right.
And so it is incumbent, I think, and I think more and more Americans want the assurance that you've just laid out on this table, that this Congress and the next Congress, when presumably Democrats have control, will begin the process of holding every last masked agent
100%
accountable. Name, rank, badge number, all of it. Because they're hiding behind the anonymity because they think Donald Trump is going to protect them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And look, we said that today. These people have to remember that control of Congress is going to change. I believe it's going to change in November. And when we get the gavels back, we will hold these people accountable. Now, the problem is between now and then, there are a lot of people that could be killed. There are a lot of people that could be terrorized. And so we can't wait either, which is why we took the hearing in Judiciary today and we turned it into a referendum on this case. The American people have to hear us taking on these lies. I mean, to call this woman a domestic terrorist, to say things that are clearly not true, to say that that ICE agent was injured and ended up hospitalized. You see him on the video walking back and forth after the car drives away. So it is really, and I made this point in Judiciary today. It's almost like we're living in two realities. There's the reality that is happening on the ground. What is happening with these ICE agents in cities across the country? What's happening with healthcare? What's happening, how people see the invasion of Venezuela and the idea that we're going to run some other country for 4 years potentially when we can't even provide healthcare for our people here. There's that reality. And then there's the lies that are consistently being told by the president and this administration and Republicans who are backing it up. And the problem that I see, there are many problems, but the big problem I see is it is undermining trust in government. Who trusts the Department of Justice now if they're going to get up and lie about something that I can see, that you can see? Who is going to trust the Department of Justice? Who is going to trust ICE to actually pick up criminals versus somebody who's just walking down the street who happens to be speaking Spanish, or maybe even somebody who might be picking up her kids at a daycare? So I think that this is a huge problem for our democracy. It is a crisis, and we need Republicans, and I'll say there's some hope with the Venezuela war powers vote in the Senate, with the healthcare vote, that maybe Republicans will realize that there are these great moments in history where you have to stand up for your constituents and your country. And if that means standing up to your cult leader, it's about time you did that.